Clash of Clans podcast. Oh, every time. Clash of Clans podcast.
Clash of Clans podcast. OG.
Gee.
Episode
OG.
12.
OG. Clash of Clans podcast. OG. Episode 13. And we're back, and apparently there
I didn't even know
have
it was
been-
episode 13. I thought it was episode 12. Look at
It
me.
is. Well, and you would think after how many episodes just in total, I would have this intro thing down. But
can't
you
believe
are
we've
my
been going.
witness.
I
to
can't
the
believe we've been
awkwardness.
going for 12 weeks.
I know, that's
13
just
weeks.
insane. It's really insane.
That is crazy.
Especially when I think back 7 months ago or 8 months ago. And if you told me I was here doing the podcast and clashing hardcore again, I would have said, "What are you talking about? You've got to be crazy."
So why
And
did you get out? I know that you just kind of grew tired of the game, which we all do. But I'm curious, like, why did you stop podcasting, stop playing Clash of Clans? Was there a specific reason, or did it just kind of phase out of your life?
No, it was at the time there was a lot going on, and was really kind of between co-hosts and kind of figuring things out. And I think, in talking to everybody, coming back and seeing that everybody else took a break, or not everybody, but most people have kind of like walked away,
A lot of people did.
Yeah, which surprised me. I kind of felt like, hey, I'm the only one. And I think what happened was at the time there was just so much going on. I think I went away for Christmas, and I just remember being just so overwhelmed, not by like anything in particular, but the whole thing, like in general, because, there would be times. And so like, if we kind of go back in time and you're thinking about the very beginning of, Clash and how you had to farm and, the amount of time, and at the time Supercell just came out the Eagle. No, it was somewhere after that.
I remember.
Right?
Yeah, I remember. And the Warden.
Yeah, and there was just some like tough upgrade times. Like the game was kind of like in the middle. Things were going really good with House of L and the L family, and I just kind of wanted to take a little break. And if I thought about it a little bit more, I'd probably be able to tell you exactly what it was. But then, so I was just kind of checking in and kind of, making sure things were going on. And then, I dialed in at work, and I did a bunch of stuff, and it was like, if I step back into it, I will be full on into it.
Yeah.
And I think at the time, like the podcast was going, was getting between co-hosts or whatever. And then I wasn't sure what the future of it would exactly be. Like, do we go war? We were doing a lot of stuff with L at the time. And so it was like, well, the podcast was a little bit bigger than L, and it kind of became a little bit more about L and kind of put the clan a little bit more center. So I needed some time to figure out what I wanted, I think. And I guess that's a long answer, but.
No, I mean, we all come to that point, right? Where something like, obviously we're doing this for millions and millions of dollars, right, Scotty?
Yep. Just raking in.
We're pulling
every
in the
0
cash.
cent. Yes.
I mean, the reason that I do it, and the reason that I did it before, is because I have fun doing it. So the moment that I stop having fun doing it, well, I'm not going to do it any longer. because
Yeah.
obviously we're not doing this for money. Like
Yeah,
money is the
exactly.
farthest thing from our minds at this point. We do it because we
'Cause
enjoy
we're
talking to each other. We enjoy playing this game.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
so I was just curious, like what?
Well, and I think at the time too, where podcasts were, there wasn't a way to monetize it, and not monetizing the podcast or anything, but it was like, do you do it for you? Do you do it
Yeah,
to eventually monetize it a little bit, and not to make a lot of money, but like, I there's costs and stuff that I
right.
put in, and it would be, it's like nice to do. It'd be nice to get some of that back at that time or whatever. And so it was just kind of like, hey, what path? And then coming back, it was like, in talking to you, and kind of firing it up, it was like we started with the purpose of having fun
Hmm.
first and putting it out there for the fans. Um, and even with things like, who cares about social media?
Yeah,
Because that wasn't really the fun part of it to me at all.
there's more
Took you
drama there anyway than
Yeah, because it was like
where.
all these things that got piled on after the podcast started that weren't there. Like, oh, doing all the social media, doing this, and then, oh, another thing, another thing, another thing. And it's just like layer after layer after layer. And so this time, Tip and I were talking, and it was like, okay, and do it. We're going to do it to have some fun.
Hmm.
Um,
I remember that
I'm,
conversation when you
n-
called me.
yeah, I'm not going to do the things that like, it is just for the fans. It is not about monetizing. It is a passion project for the Clash
Yeah,
of Clans community, and to be able to bring back the old episodes, put them out there, because there were a lot of people who were on the podcast, contributed, and so I wanted them to have that too. So
yeah. I've had a lot of people ask me like why I do YouTube, why I do Clash podcasting, and I mean 100%. Like it's 100% to because I enjoy it. I'm still amazed that anybody actually listens to this. Like,
right,
I can't believe that we can have fun and people actually enjoy listening to us talk about this crazy 12-year-old game, but
just being a
it
nerd.
is what it is. Yeah. I'm amazed that
Well,
anybody watches my YouTube videos. Like as pathetic as a graphic as a designer and
no, that's pretty.
you
No,
know
yours are good. I'm always blown away. And it's
I enjoy it.
it's art pop, as Lady Gaga would say. I
Hmm.
think it's the thing that you like to do. Some people bead, right? Some people
Yeah. Play the violin.
play the violin. Some
Yep.
people race turtles. I don't
Some
know.
people crochet.
Some crochet. Some people just watch paint dry.
Yeah.
So,
If that's what tugs your boat.
what rubs your tug? Tugs
What
your
rubs
rub.
your tug, then go for it, man. Whatever rubs your tug.
Well, we are in the middle of the streak. Are you staying on your streak?
So I finished the streak on my main.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed that it wasn't harder. Like okay, so I'm glad it wasn't harder for the
I
general
failed
overall
it
player
3
base.
times. No, just kidding. Twice, but that was just because I forgot about it.
So the last 3 days were literally just get a 3-star, which let's be
Okay.
honest, getting a 3 star is difficult, right? It's not easy to get a 3-star, but I was expecting it to get harder where it was like, okay, get a 3-star,
Get
then
two
get
three
two three
stars.
stars, and then get 2 3 stars in a row. And then maybe like the last day was like, get 3 3 stars in a row. But
I
no, it
was
was
a little
just get three
nervous that it
star.
was going to be like that.
Yeah.
But
That's what I thought it was gonna be.
I failed on like one of my first tries. Oh, I just forgot that it was there.
Hmm.
And so I didn't remember, and those early the early week is really busy, and I have been spending so much time staring at those war bases. Like, the
Hmm.
time I go in there to look, and then I'm gonna get a raid in, and I completely forget. Um, and so a couple of those days, I I must have just missed my attack, and I don't even like. I think some of those days I just let it go, and I don't even realize it because I'm still playing, but I'm just scouting the base.
Hmm. So you're gonna get to the point where you're just be like, okay, which base can I hit with the normal army that I use? So I don't know if you noticed with my attacks with Boimler and Taos JR, all of them are Blizzard Lalo. Literally
Y-
every single one of them. Because it works the majority of the time. Now
Yeah.
it didn't work
I
as well in the last war, but you're just gonna look at a base and be like, can I hit this with this? Okay, let's do it.
see, and I do that, but I'm so like all day long, I'm running my war comp. That's just that's what's running. But
Hmm.
it's always like looking at the war map. I go in there, stare at it for an hour. I come back. Yeah, I'm like, all right, I'm ready. Somebody hit it.
Hmm. You got to call that
Well,
base.
I know. I called it in my head, and then I was waiting. And that just happens. Then, or sometimes I go back and look, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. We got these THs left. Maybe I should hit here. Um, so then when I get down to it, it's like, all right, how do I wring all the funnel troops out?
Hmm.
Like, how can I make this? How do I customize it? And so that's what I end up doing. And then once I have it kind of customized, then I'll just run that comp 2 or 3 times with
Out in
the
the
little
wild.
adjustments. Yeah. Like, okay, I'm going to try these witches on this side. Let me just try it a couple times, see if I notice any difference. That was horrible. Okay, I'm going back to what I was doing before.
I'm the same
um,
way.
yeah,
I,
so
I
it's
went through the same process though. Like honestly, I've been playing for a long time. I came back in 2020, I think it was, and then I played for several years and then took a 9-month break and then came back and I've been back for another 7 or 8 months. But you're gonna go through the process. It's what works, what doesn't work. You're gonna figure out the troops. It's just gonna take time. I mean, unfortunately, it's gonna take years in some instances, but like it'll just take time and you'll figure it out. You'll get there and you'll see things a year from now that you're like, holy cow, how did I not see that a year ago when I was Town Hall 14?
or last week.
You're it. Well, I'm
Which
curious, what's your warden up to now? Because that's the
he
recurring
has.
weekly theme at this point.
Well, there hasn't been any book of building.
Ah,
And so I haven't got him up at all. I'm going to put my king down, I think, because I wanted to put at least one level on him before CWL. Just so I can
no,
say I think I've done 2 levels on him since the last CWL.
we have
Um,
3 days before CWL hits.
3, what? I thought it was on Friday.
No, it's on the first and the second day of the month. Now you can spin on the second
Well,
day if you would.
shit.
Oh man, I just burst your bubble. I just
Well,
rubbed your tug.
you just tubbed my rug. Um, okay, well that's helpful. I don't know why do I think it's like on the first weekend of every month.
No, so it's on the first day and the second day. You can sign up either day, either on the first or the second. And
Okay.
if
Well,
you
good thing
say,
I didn't
hey,
start that upgrade
yeah,
then.
but if you say, hey, my king's going up, let's wait, on 24 hours to spend. Like that's completely okay as well. You have 2 days to spend. So that's completely fine.
I do
If that's something
have
you want to, you
two
are the
builder
leader.
potions, I think. Well,
Oh, got those from Clan Games.
yeah, I'm gonna put it. Then you know what? Then I'll put my mini horse back down or something, or
Hmm.
maybe I'll do it to use a builder potion, um, and just kind of push it on because it'll be the first day of CWL, then War Day. I think it's only 4 days,
Yep.
so then I'll do it that way. But
Perfect.
uh, I would like to. I was thinking about my royal champion, but if I do my king, then I can for sure put down a um, pet as soon as the pet's done too. I want to
Have
keep those
you
things going.
have you already used your Book of Heroes from the Gold Pass? Why did I
There's
even
2
ask?
days left in the
Why
season.
did I even ask?
What do you, oh,
I still have one. It's sitting there in my reserve. So I like to save at least one for whenever I have my season bank and I get like 500 million bajillion dark
Oh, no
elixir.
wonder.
So I save one of them just
You
in case. And then I have a book of building sitting there in clan games. So that's one thing that I like to do. I have one book of building I think we got from the gold pass just sitting there in reserve in my, I don't even know what you call it, your magic bank, your Hogwarts bank.
season bank, isn't it?
So the
That
season bank is the loot that you get, but like where you store all your magic items in the town hall. Magic, your magic bank,
well, I'm not
and
telling you where I store all my magic items.
come steal them.
Uh,
And then I
yeah.
have one book of building that's just hanging out there in clan games. I've already collected all of my winnings
Oh,
from
yeah,
clan
I did
games
get the
except
book of
one,
building.
but I'm waiting because you have 7 days, I think, 8 days, I think it is, to collect. So I'm gonna use a book of building, and then once I use that, then I'll collect the book of building from clan games. And I still have like 6 days and 3 hours or something like that to collect it. So I'm good.
Oh, I guess I was the grasshopper who sang all summer, spinning all my books. No, I was that problem of like getting all that loot coming up is always like, oh, what
What do
do
you
I
do
do
with
with
it?
it?
Yes, exactly.
I would just hold out for it, and put some heroes down, but then I'm gonna be waiting for like a day or two. So it's okay. Well, 2 days.
Mhm.
Well,
So
oh man, I had a
yeah.
whole plan.
I love it.
It's not like I
Talk
would,
to Tip.
not like
Tip, you suck.
it's not like the
What the
plan would have
crap?
worked anyways because I would have showed up to the iPad and then I would have started the upgrade. I would have panicked and done whatever.
30 million
Um,
gold and 30 million elixir. Where did this come from?
yeah, what the hell? Well, that's gonna. I'll have to update my planning schedule. I did kind of think about this with my upgrades though. I'm thinking about what we've talked about last few 13 weeks.
Mhm.
Um, upgrade order, things like that. And I'm really thinking about going to the lower end, leveling up the base, and basically starting with the things that I would never use a book of building on. And go from that end and just
Okay.
try to rush it up. Um
Yeah. I can
and
see I can see if you used one or two builders to do that. Like just to keep things running daily, you know? You have a
yeah,
builder coming free every single day and just running through those smaller items that you haven't had a chance to catch up on yet.
but you wouldn't do it for all of them.
I mean, that's up to you. You know, do you want to get up all your air bombs and seeking air mines and little bombs and giant bombs and the tornado trap? Like, do you want to get those up
Well,
quickly? Like, do you see value in that? I think that's a personal decision.
well, I think that's kind of the rub, right? I look at it and
Just don't
I'm
tug it.
just don't tug that rub. Um,
we beat that horse dead.
dead, dead as the door now.
Don't beat it.
Yeah, beat it. Um, well, it's kind of the problem, right? I'm looking at it. I'm thinking about. I'm not really strategically rushing
Hmm.
anything like that, but I realize my base is underleveled, and I'd like to make it stronger for CWLs,
Defensive
whatever.
wise.
Yeah, and I've been holding some defenses with it.
Hmm.
It was a base that GCBC gave me. I made a
Hmm.
couple adaptations. It's been doing pretty good.
Perfect.
Getting a defense at least, most wars. And I think, okay, what can I do here to give me a little bit more of an edge? Eat one more defense, do something like that. What's the quickest way? What's, the most strategic way to get up there so I'm not necessarily cutting off time? Um, and I've got to do everything anyways, right?
Right.
So I'm thinking to myself, maybe my base would be a little bit more, and maybe it'd be smarter to put down these really tiny upgrades because I've under leveled archers and cannons
Hmm.
and mortars. Do those right away, put because they're very quick, and then in the same amount of time that I could do an expo, for example, I could have 3 archer towers done.
Yeah, I mean, you make a good point.
And then I put down a little bit more hit points, a little bit more DPS. Um, because it's like with the Infernos, right? I want to keep pumping them up. And this is always where I've wrestled forever. I want to level them up, but everybody can just freeze them. Like, does it make a difference to have those things maxed out versus catching other things up?
So it makes a difference for a bad attacker. So if you have a good attacker attacking your base, so for instance, with Tal Shiar, my rushed Town Hall 14, it's going to be a rush Town Hall 15 here in the next week or so. Uh, I've had multiple people attack it,
Congratulations.
and so if you look in War, Tal Shiar is on par with a max Town Hall 12. Like I rank below the Town Hall 13s, but
Yeah.
above the Town Hall 12s. So typically when I'll have a Town Hall 12 or a Town Hall 13 hit it, and sometimes it gets 3-starred, but a lot of the times the player isn't used to going against those level of defenses, and so they mess up somehow. Now, if you have a good
Oh,
attacker, it's not going to make a difference. If you have a good attacker, you're right. They can just freeze the Inferno Towers. They can just freeze, your Giga Tesla, whatever. They know how to sui into your heroes and your Eagle or whatever it may be. But where it makes a difference in upgrading your core defenses first is if you get a bad attacker attacking your base, because they're not going to be able to judge how quickly or how much their heroes, for example, are going to be able to get down. So they may be used to their heroes, only getting one archer tower and one cannon, and then all of a sudden they bust through three archer towers and a cannon, and then all of a sudden their heroes are in a place that they're not used to, and that messes up their plan that they had in their head where they're going to release their dragons or their loons or whatever. And so I've had multiple people attack my base and mess up because they're not used to the imbalance of defenses. That being said, your focus on your archer towers and cannons will help defend against better attackers.
I
So,
didn't
m-
think
so,
about it that way before.
so my strategy is a little pathetic. If you think about it, it's like, okay, I'm in a strategic rush, and granted, I can
Hope
three
they're an
star.
idiot.
I can 3-star other Town Hall 14s with my offense. I mean, pretty regularly,
Yeah.
but I have a horrible time so if another Town Hall 14 or another Town Hall 15 attacks me, they're just gonna wipe my base out because I have level 1 archer towers. But if my across from me attacks for me, which is a Town Hall 12, they really struggle to 3-star just because of, the core defenses that I have and how, it's kind of all centered, and like a Town Hall 12 is not used to attacking against scatter shots, for
Yeah.
example. So, or if a good Town Hall 12 attacker could do it because they would know
Your
how to
troops are
reach
just
those scatter
shitting their
shots.
pants on the
Right.
side.
Exactly.
What the
And
hell is
so
that thing?
my strategy is dependent upon a bad attacker and being able to trip them up. Your strategy of upgrading is better for a good attacker because then, if you have max archer towers and max cannons at Town Hall 14, well, then you make it more difficult for a good attacker to plan, around your base overall Town Hall 14 versus Town Hall 14.
So are there like a bunch of clans out there where it's like all strategic rushing? And so
I don't
it's
know of any. I know that I don't know of any offhand. I know that BD Legend has a Discord server with several thousand people who are on it, and he will recommend, hey, try this clan, see they take strategic rushers or that clan. But I don't know of like a clan that's solely made of strategic
that'd be
rushers.
crazy wars. Like, well, let's
It would
just
be
hope
interesting.
somebody. So if you were okay, so you have your only account. You are new to the game, so you're out there. You're a fan in the stand. You're Town Hall 9, 10, 12.
Hmm.
Your main account. Do you max it out before going to the next level?
So that's a question of two questions, really. Number one, is your ultimate goal to get to the end as quickly as possible? Like, do you want to be a max Town Hall 16 and you don't care how you get there? You just want to do it as quickly as possible. If that's the case and that's your number one goal, then yes, strategic rush. If your goal is to enjoy Clash of Clans and in the way of enjoying each and every town hall and all that each and every town hall has to offer, then max. Like, is there anything wrong with Scotty827 staying at Town Hall 14 and upgrading his cannons and archer towers? No, nothing at all. Because you're learning the game, you're learning, for example, how to funnel. You're enjoying Town Hall 14. And let's be honest, Town Hall 16 is much harder than Town Hall 14. So in reality, you will
Yeah, I mean,
probably enjoy the game more for longer at Town Hall 14 than if you rushed up to Town Hall 16 and are automatically thrown into the Town Hall 16 meta. Now, me, on the other hand, I've already gone through all
whoa,
the town halls multiple times. Like, I've been through Town Hall 11 7
you
times now.
slut.
Seriously. Freaking whore.
You
So I've been through
slut.
Town Hall 12 6 times. I've been through Town Hall 13 5 times. So like I have experienced these town halls. I know what they are. I don't have to experience them again. We talked last week about how Supercell hasn't changed a dang thing about any of these town halls other than hero equipment. And so Town Hall 12 today, it's easier than it was in the past, but it's essentially the same as it was whenever they introduced it in 2016 or 2017. Like Town Hall 12 has not changed. So if this is your first time going through it, it's up to you. I mean, I would almost say if it's your first time going through it, enjoy the game, take the time, see the sights, you know,
How often would you
max out.
recommend an STD test for your
You're
walking up and down these town halls you got going on here?
got some syphilis going on.
Good God. Jesus.
Yeah, I've made my rounds.
Typho
My body count is
Typhoid
what,
Mary
12?
right here.
I have 12. 12 accounts. 12
Holy
counts down.
shitballs.
Yeah, that's right, yo.
So,
That's
with
something I
that, let
should
me
be
ask
proud
you
of.
that. Well, I don't think it's none to be ashamed of, but, like, my question is, how do you log into them all?
I don't. So I 3 of my accounts are already maxed at the town hall that I want them to be maxed at. So I have a max town hall 11, max 12, and max 13. Those I maxed out a while ago, and they're just chilling at 11, 12, and 13. I will not be taking those up. That's Tipdawg 11, Tipdawg 12, Tipdawg 13. So those, like, I have nothing else to do with. And then I have 4 accounts that I play now, and that's it. Like that, I have 4 accounts.
But
My main
e
account and Tal Shiar are the only ones that I play on the regular.
even those, what do you do? Just switch your game center?
I use Supercell ID. So a few years ago, Supercell came
Oh,
out with Supercell ID, which made things so much easier to deal with multiple accounts. And you push the switch button, you press the base that you want to load, and boom, it loads. So it's super easy to do.
hmm, maybe I'll have to try it to get Britney Spears back.
So before you would have to like delete it would come up, like this message would come up and say,
Yeah,
you're gonna delete all progress of your account.
that scared the hell out
Please
of me.
type confirm, and you'd
Yeah,
have to type in COMFIRM in capital letters, press OK, and then relog. Like, it was a hassle to have to do
that
that. And
first
I
time
think
I did that. Yeah.
Supercell realized that they can make more money off players who are going to buy multiple gold passes if they have multiple accounts. So they created Supercell
Well,
ID.
people were getting in trouble for it before, weren't they?
Originally, it was against terms of service to have more than one account.
Yeah.
But I think they changed that real quick when they realized that people can spend gems on more than one account. So
I'm just at the point in uploading the podcasts and getting those old episodes finally in the zone where I have a template of dates.
mhm,
Um, but it was at the creation of, well, my account was originally Ixace and then Britney Spears, Trimac.
mhm.
Um, okay, that's interesting. Maybe I will have to do that. There's
So,
so
well,
much work to do, though.
so my main doesn't take a lot of work. Like, I have 8 attacks to do, but I use the exact same army, which I'm probably going to be changing, but I'm using the exact same army. So literally, it takes me 3 minutes or less to do an attack.
Holy shit!
So So basically I spend 24 minutes a day on my main base, and that's it. Like I we don't chat a lot in that clan. There's some chats that go on. Most of that chatting happens on Discord, if I want to participate in any
Oh,
chat groups. So I spend 24 minutes on that base a day, and then I will log in to my strategic rush base, and I don't attack as much as I used to, but I do 5 or 6 attacks a day currently. So if each attack takes 3 minutes, I mean, that's 15, 20 minutes. So I'm probably in total, less than an hour a day
well, that's
on
not
all
bad.
of my accounts, I would say.
I remember it being really hard to keep it straight, and just feeling like I was letting Brittany down, not collecting.
Well, yeah, and I think part of it is if you have multiple accounts, you just have to be okay with having sleepy builders.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
so my fourth account is currently a Town Hall 13 that I'm upgrading. It's not Boimler and it's not Tal Shiar. It's just another random account. It's actually, I'm going to see if you know this reference. It is NCC 1701D.
Ooh, the generation.
Ah, nice. Of course, I knew that you were going to get that, Scotty.
Yes.
But that's the name of that account, and I
That is the Star Trek
oftentimes,
Enterprise
yes, it is the
from
Enterprise
Generation.
from Next Generation, the main one.
Yep.
Before, obviously before the E, before it was crashed on the planet. But I
What a great scene.
it was that was awesome. I actually just listened to "Make It So" by Patrick Stewart.
Oh, really? That is,
The audiobook, I had an Audible credit, and so I went ahead and purchased that and listened to it. It was interesting. He's had an interesting life, but that's beside the point. But
well, oh, sorry. Keep going.
no, I was just gonna say on that account, I oftentimes have sleepy builders, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
You just have to be okay with it.
You
Just
get
have fun with it.
stuck in that rhythm. And that's where, with these pets and everything, has gotten me a little bit out of. I just. Oh, I wish I would never said anything about the Dark Elixir. I feel like I cursed myself.
Came back to
And
bite you.
yeah, like I feel like I set events to unfold in the universe where I just can't get any. Um, so I'm really just trying to keep those things going, and I'm doing that. Uh, I have to say though, like as we're talking about this stuff and learning and whatnot, this Warden Pull has been a huge,
Pull and tug.
yeah,
It's been a
yeah,
huge help.
huge help
Nice.
because so we were talking about it on the podcast that was it last week or the week before,
Hmm.
and the fact that the warden will lean in or like pull
Hmm.
towards the highest troop space.
Right.
So this is, and I'm running Super Bowler attacks, but it works for it'll work for whatever. Um, but I've been working on the warden walk, uh, which is really mostly just him standing there.
Hmm. Yeah.
And
And you waiting.
yeah, and me waiting around. But what changed was me trying to anticipate where he was going to go.
Mm.
And so, like, when I was starting my funnel on one side, okay, so, and this is probably Legacy Archer Queen walk days or whatever.
Hmm.
But I'd start there and then go, "Well, I don't want him to go this way, so get some funnel troops in there. Da 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 da. Now I can look at it, drop that warden on a corner
Hmm.
with a really good idea of where I think he's going to go,
Hmm.
put him down, and then if he goes the wrong way, drop the troops earlier. Or like in my
Hmm.
case, I've been trying out those Electro Titans, E Titans.
Hmm.
I'll drop that first, and then it'll pull him towards, and just depending on if I need more time or whatnot, and then and pull him right back in. That is like, if you don't know this trick out there, make sure you're trying. This is a game changer for me.
Mhm.
Um,
The warden is the best funnel troop in the game, if you're looking at it from that perspective. This is so easy. Like, you
yeah, to
just set
funnel
him
him.
loose. You just set him loose on what or to for him to funnel for the rest of your
Oh
troops.
yeah, yeah.
Because you set him loose, and then whenever you're ready, you put down an E-Titan or put down your queen, and it pulls them over, and you're good to go.
And maybe I have to do one. Maybe I bring a little funnel troop, but I don't have to carry that extra housing space for
Mhm.
that one side because I'm like, oh, you just go in there. Here's what I want you to get for sure. Here's what I think you're going to get for sure. Don't worry about the pull. I'll come back because then even then I could drop one extra super bowler if I had to pull them farther or something
Mhm.
because it's within that aura, right?
Yes. Well, so it's a little iffy on where, but right on it will also pull if it's just outside the aura. It will still pull it.
Okay. I wanted to make sure that it wasn't like anywhere on the
Mhm.
base.
Yeah,
But
no.
yeah, so if I'm watching him, um, what was his minimum pull? Was there one?
15 troop space.
15 troop space.
Mhm.
Okay, so I could drop, if something went horribly wrong, quick, I could drop a little bit of my funnel troops, like a couple my cleanup bowlers or something like that on the one side.
A really cool trick that you can use with that is if you want to funnel on the side that has a single inferno tower,
Yeah.
but that single inferno tower has storages in front of it, which means that it might lock onto your warden before your warden can get through those storages, or it'll take the warden a long time. You can drop 3 loons. And remember,
Oh, yeah.
the pull weight is 15 troop space. Well, each of those loons are 5 troop space. Drop 3 loons, after the other defenses are down, making sure there's no ADs in range, that kind of thing. Drop 3 loons, and they target that single inferno tower. Well, because the warden is pulled by 15 troop space, the warden will follow those loons and will start attacking that inferno tower and will ignore the storages. And even though those loons go down, the
Oh.
warden will just keep on pecking away at that inferno tower. And then once the inferno tower goes down, assuming your loons are dead at that point, well, then he'll focus on the storages. But you can do that even though the storages are in front of the inferno tower. That's just a cool little trick.
Will he quit what he's doing when I drop something?
Hmm. He will, yeah. Once the troop space is met, so if you drop a Yeti, for example, Yeti's 18 troop space, whatever the Yeti is targeting, that's what the warden will start targeting.
He goes, fuck it.
Yep.
This, whatever. I'm doing this thing over here.
Yeah, which is also annoying too, because that eye comes back to bite you in the butt. For example, if it's just your warden and your queen on the base and there's one building left and your queen starts targeting a wall, well, it's actually gotten better. I've noticed that the warden will actually target the building that the queen is going after, but
Okay.
sometimes the warden will get stuck on attacking the wall piece that the queen is also attacking because his AI is to focus on whatever troop he's latched onto to attack the exact same thing that they are attacking.
In my warden, the where he is, he might as well just be smoking a cigarette because that's about as much damage he does to the wall by blowing it on it. And he just sits there like, okay, oh, obstacle. Let me just smoke this quick. Oh, there,
Here, let
oh,
me take a puff.
hey, get over here. Oh, this one? Okay, I'll come over here. Yeah, there he goes swinging over to by those other troops. Where are we going, guys? Oh, man. Okay. So, recap Warden will switch target. So, when those balloons come over, whenever they come over, we don't have to wait for something to go down. Those things come out of that CC, it switches the target right away.
So it's your loons, and let's say that
Or
there
is
are
it
2
your ones?
storages, and you're doing a warden walk, and your warden starts attacking one of those storages. Let's say there's a gold and elixir storage that are sitting there in front of an inferno tower.
He's smoking. Yep.
and the warden will start attack. Well, it's going to take him, 5 hits, 6 hits to get through those storages, especially at your level.
You obviously don't
Well,
remember level 40.
right. Well, maybe more than 5 or 6 hits then if that's the case. Maybe a little bit longer
All
smoke break if that's
afternoon.
the case. So you can, if you have 3 loons in your army complement, then you can drop those 3 loons, assuming that they're gonna be targeting that Inferno Tower, so you have to drop them in the right place. The Warden will start targeting what the loons are targeting, because that's the 15 troop space, and those 3 loons will change what he's targeting. Same thing if you drop a Yeti. So you drop that 18 space Yeti, the Yeti starts attacking the barracks that's right beside the Warden. Well, the Warden's gonna start attacking the barracks too, because his AI says, "Hey, this amount of troop space has been dropped on the base within my aura or right next to my aura. I need to start attacking whatever these troops are attacking." So it's the same thing with those loons. Those loons are defensive seeking. So the loons are obviously going to ignore the storages. The loons are going to target the Inferno Tower. And so, therefore, because they pulled the Warden's attention, his AI will start attacking the Inferno Tower as well at the same time. And he will not veer off of it until that Inferno Tower goes down. And then he'll start focusing on whatever else, assuming the 3 loons die.
So, next question. I'm funneling. I drop my E-Titan, right?
Mhm.
32 troop space. Warden likes the look of her. Heads over there. Then I drop my super bowlers.
Mm-hmm.
Each are 30 altogether, all 4 of them, 120. Does he switch from her to them?
So that's a complicated question. As far as how complex the AI is, I would assume, I don't know the answer to that. I would assume the warden will attack whatever the bulk of troops has targeted. So I'm assuming that the AI of the bowlers interacts with the AI of the warden. So if, for example, 4 of your super bowlers are targeting this gold mine that's in front of them, because that's 120 troop space, even though the E-Titan is focusing on the barracks that's next to it, I'm assuming that the warden is going to switch over to the bowlers because they're heavier within his aura. I'm assuming. I don't know that that's the answer, but that makes sense in my weird brain.
Yeah, that would make sense if the yeah. I mean, if the warden's AI says to the most, switch targets immediately. Well, and here's where I'm kind of asking some of this too, is I'm thinking that gives me a little bit more flexibility in the funnel.
Mhm.
Like, oh, I can be a little bit more creative. Oh, shit's going wrong. Now it makes much more strategic sense to drop the bowlers, maybe sometimes not where it's most convenient, but then where it's going to get that extra targeting, right? So maybe just a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right,
As
you know.
long as they're funneled, like that's the key. You want your super bowlers to go into the base where you have planned them to go into the base. So if dropping them a little bit further to the left poses the risk that they're going to walk off to the left outside of the funnel, then I still wouldn't do that. So
Well,
it's all dependent on making sure you funnel correctly in the beginning of the attack so that the bowlers will still go to where they need to go throughout the attack.
yeah, yeah. And maybe I'm just not super precise, right? Like when I'm dropping the bowlers, I'm like, they're going in here.
Mhm.
But most of the time, it's like this. I got the plan. I got everything that I think I need to deal with it when it goes to shit. So I'm like, okay, they're going to go in here. I know I'm not going to, I don't know like the timing on stuff. Um, but just to make really quick adjustments in the moment, like I could just go a little bit over and then
Mhm.
the word's going to hit that. Okay, it's going to go faster. I'm not to that level yet.
I'll do those
Um,
type of adjustments sometimes with my queen. So, for example, the warden starts going drifting off to the left. Well, I don't want
Oh,
So one of the difficult things with Super Bowlers is
yes.
because they have 3 bounces, their pathing can be difficult to predict. So instead, I'll throw my queen down because her pathing is a lot easier to predict because she just destroys one building at a time. When the Super Bowlers can sometimes destroy 3 or even 4 buildings at a time. Like if you have 3 or 4 buildings stacked up in a line and you get 4 Super Bowlers, they go bounce, 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 and they destroy that whole line of buildings. Well, then what are they going to target next? Maybe you didn't predict that those bowling balls were going to reach the 4th building, and oh crap, they did. Well, now the Super Bowlers are going to start targeting a different building. So if my warden's getting off task and
Oh,
drifting out of the way, then I'll use my queen sometimes to direct him back because I can predict my queen pathing a lot easier.
well, wait a second. So with the Super Bowlers and the bowlers, I guess we could go down to this level.
Hmm.
So if we're talking about where they look next, right? What's the AI with? Because you're saying like if it hits the 4th building, does
Hmm.
that mean it activates and now that's its target?
It will be the closest of 3 buildings. So so with Super Bowlers, they're just going to go. They don't target defenses, so they're just going to go to the closest building.
Yep.
And they're going to target that next. So if it destroys this row of buildings, well, then they're going to be like, okay, where's the next closest building? Oh, it's over here.
Oh,
And
I see what you're
they're gonna
saying.
walk
Okay.
that whatever the next closest building is. That's what they're going to start hitting.
Okay. I was thinking you meant that the targeting might reset because of the 4th building. I know what you're saying. It could theoretically, but
Hmm.
you're saying it's the 3 closest buildings. It
So
basically it won't change.
so let's say that for you were planning on you would funnel on the right, you'd funnel on the left, and you were planning on that 4th building in the line pulling your super boulders in towards the town hall, in towards the center of the base. But that 4th building gets destroyed with the 3rd bounce. And there's one building that you didn't quite funnel on the right hand side. There's a barracks that's 2 layers deep that's just a tad bit closer than that building that was in the center. Well, your super bowlers are going to start walking over to the right because you
Yeah.
didn't plan on them destroying that 4th
Yeah.
building in a line.
And I
And so
guess
because of that,
yeah, and I was thinking about like whether or not the extended range on it re had any difference.
mm,
Um and
no,
I'll
huh?
say I've never got 4 buildings deep in my planning. It's more like
Me
for those
neither.
guys,
Me neither.
it seems like the Super Bowlers are basically like, "Hey guys, go party. I'll do whatever I can. You guys go to town, and jump in there." Here's my so I guess what I'm saying is I can pay more attention to that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Um, Here is what my problem has been with we've talked about the queen charge, we talked about the warden walk. Okay. Now I know the warden pulls to like my super bowlers, for example.
Mhm.
How do I get those damn healers onto those bowlers
So if they're on your warden has to be healed
fully?
completely, has to be topped off before their AI is going to switch over to the bowlers.
Oh, that's what I thought. And
Mhm.
I guess I sometimes my fold, if my warden gets in trouble, my fold gets into a little bit of trouble. You know what I mean? Like I'll
Mhm.
drop those bowlers. They're not going over. He's not going over fast enough. Okay, so there's not really a surefire way to get them to switch.
Have a
Um,
freeze ready because the most
oh yeah, I suppose.
oftentimes that happens is when an expo locks onto your warden, like a
Good
ground expo,
call.
then that's when you want to have a freeze ready and recognize that that's happening. Okay, right before I drop my bowlers, I'm going to freeze this expo.
Yeah.
And then while it's multi things happening at the same time, but I'm going to freeze this expo. I'm gonna throw down my E-Titan, so when the Expo becomes unfrozen, its closest target is the E-Titan. So it's not gonna be the
Oh,
Warden. The Warden is getting healed back up by the healers, and then once the Warden is topped off, because it's not being targeted by the Expo anymore, the healers are gonna start looking for a new target to heal
yeah.
up. Well, this guy's already healed. Where can we do our best business? Where can we have the most use on the battlefield? And that happens to be your E Titan or your Super Bowlers if they get targeted. And so that's the point when they're gonna switch.
Okay. And so I had that stuff in my head about him getting healed up. I did not consider freezing. Um, and so what I was doing was kind of throwing the E Titan in to tank,
Mhm.
kind of like you're saying. But if I would just freeze or throw an invisibility on him.
You could do invisibility, but the benefit of the freeze is that a max freeze is always better than an invisibility spell if you're only targeting one defense. So a max invisibility spell only lasts 4.5 seconds, when a max freeze actually lasts 5.5 seconds. So if you're only targeting one defense or one like little cluster of defenses that you can get within one free spell, your free spell is going to be better because it lasts an extra second longer.
Well, when the invisibility spell be better.
So the invisibility spell is better whenever you have a circle or like a semicircle of defenses. So let's say you have an Expo on the right, you have a cannon or a ricochet
Oh,
cannon on the left, and
surrounded.
all of your troops, yeah, surrounded. Well, in that instance, you would technically have to use two free spells to stop
Great.
all of the damage, which, is 2 spell space. Well, in that instance, you could drop an invisibility spell on top of your troops, and that stops all the damage on your troops. Now, it is a second less, so it's a tad bit less efficient, but it does stop all of the damage hitting your troops. But that's a next
Ah,
level skill. Like that's hard for me to do, to cover up your all of your troops, because oftentimes what I'll do is I'll bring in an invisibility spell, and I use it a lot of times with my RC, because the RC gets into places where
yeah.
he's being targeted by lots of different defenses. So I'll use the invisibility spell in order to stop all of the damage on her rather than freezing multiple spots. But if I use it on my troops, it's more difficult because you have to line it up right, especially if they're attacking a defense. Because if it's a little bit too forward, then that invisibility spell is going to cover up that defense and they're going to retarget to another defense. And then all of a sudden, that defense is essentially shooting you in the back.
So this
But
is a case of like, hey, here's what I'm kind of doing this already. And I bet as people listen to, they're going, "Oh yeah, I'm doing that." Maybe I didn't know why I was doing it or getting the most
mhm.
benefit. But that's a cool way to break it down to say freeze for single direction, or whatever, but that invisibility for being surrounded. And I can tell you I've been putting it in my comp and I've just been using it in like on the RC and I didn't think about why this versus the freeze and then but usually for war I just put the freeze back in.
Yeah, so you have to
But
look at
but I
total damage on your army.
but I get that when I use the invisibility, where I get the most benefit is after my Super Bowlers and my king or my queen has just taken out the core and there they are
Yes.
and everything's pounding
Yes.
down on them.
Perfect. Yes. Yeah, that's perfect example.
And I didn't think about it. I mean, I thought like I was getting about the same amount of benefit, but
Mhm.
um, but really, because normally I just freeze the inferno, or I mean, like the town hall, or whatever's off to the side that's doing the most damage at that point. But I didn't consider how much damage is coming from all directions, and that could be really useful.
So the way that
Um,
you can determine it a little bit better as you're doing your attacks is if your army is spread out. Like, so with Super Bowlers, you want to keep your Super Bowlers together, like all of them clustered together. So if you have an army comp where your troops are clustered together tight like that, then an invisibility spell may work. But if you have an attack strategy like Root Riders or Dragons, even for example, where let's say that you have an air targeting expo, well, if you invis this cluster of dragons, And if that air targeting expo is just going to switch and start targeting another dragon,
Yeah.
well, it's still doing the same amount of damage. Well, in that case, it would have been better to freeze. So the invisibility spell is typically only better if you can cover all of your troops and negate all of the damage, because if the defenses are still plucking away, they're just plucking away at different troops. Well,
Yeah.
at that point it's kind of wasted. I mean,
But you could get a retarget too.
right?
Like you could have your troops retarget with the invisibility. You
So
could
and
steer them away from like a funnel, right?
yeah,
If
so
your
that
funnel was going wrong, you could drop that in.
yes. Yeah, so that's like high level stuff. I've only done that maybe 2 or 3 times, like, in my entire Clash of Clans career. I'll do that with a queen walk. So, if it's, like, a really shady queen walk where I'm pretty sure that she's gonna go down this one alleyway to get the town hall down, but I'm not positive. Well, I bring an invisibility spell. So if I'm like, okay, oh crap. Rather than going off to the left with this barracks, she went off to the right to this gold mine. Well, you can invis that gold mine and automatically she retargets to the left and then she gets the town hall down. That's like pro level thinking. And we have players in 12 Mutineers who do that all the time, and like they incorporate that into their attack plan. But that's difficult to do, you know?
Well, it's kind of like because I was thinking about it with, I'm always toying with like troop space, and lately when I go into my attacks, I haven't been using the overgrowth so much.
Hmm.
I think in part that might be because my funnel is more efficient. I'm getting that
Hmm.
down, uh, and whatnot. And so a lot of times I end up at the end of the battle, I haven't used my overgrowth.
Hmm.
So I traded that out and put in another freeze and an invisibility because I was thinking, that invisibility does the exact same thing as an overgrowth for the most part, but just much, much shorter. Much,
Hmm.
much, much shorter.
Right.
Um, and so then you get a dual purpose without it. Because sometimes with the overgrowth, and the reason I don't use it is because it's going to be too long where it's going. And I'm like, she's going to be halfway across the base, you know, when this happens, like the queen or
Hmm.
whatever, like cleaning
Right.
up. So that's something to really. What's the most with a max level invisibility? What's the time?
4.5 seconds.
4.5.
Yep.
So that's only a fifth.
So free spells 5.5.
5.5. But the
So it
overgrowth is like 20 seconds, right?
oh, the overgrowth, what is it? 30, 28 seconds.
Have, have you been seeing that change, the overgrowth use?
Uh so overgrowth, it's good with root riders. It's good if you have a cluster of defenses, especially if you have a rage tower. So when you get to
Mm,
Town Hall 15, the rage tower is introduced, and you can switch between the rage tower, poison tower, and invis tower. Well, if you have a rage tower, typically clustered around that rage tower is a bunch of defenses like an expo, ricochet cannon, inferno tower, archer tower. Like they're all clustered around that rage spell tower, so you can kind of time it. So the moment that that rage tower drops, then you can throw down the overgrowth spell, and it negates all of that damage and it allows your troops to focus on other portions of the base while not being pummeled at the same time by this cluster of defenses. In that sense, it's really helpful, which is that's good with root riders. And then it's also used really creatively for very high level attacks where, for example, if you have a group of splash damage defenses in a certain section of the base,
drop it.
and you can get down another section of the base with heroes and a small troop complement, and then you can send in bats on the rest of the
Oh,
defenses. Well, all of those splash defenses are covered up by the overgrowth spell. and those bats literally have nothing targeting them because you've taken down any multi-target inferno towers or wizard towers or scatter shots, and the town hall, which will completely obliterate bats. So if you can plan around it that way, then they can be used that way, but that's like I've never done that. That's a really
Hmm.
high level way to approach a base. But other than that, I don't see it used a lot. I can see it used a lot at Town Hall 16, but I don't see it used a lot because the negative of the overgrowth spell is yes, it freezes the defenses that are attacking you, but also it
Invisible.
it invises them from your troops.
Yeah.
So maybe that messes up pathing. So like your Super Bowlers, they were about to attack this Inferno Tower, but I overgrowthed it. Well, now they can't attack it anymore, and they're going to walk past the Inferno Tower. Well, the problem with that is you're going to have possibly defenses once that overgrowth spell goes down. Defenses hitting me from the front, and the Inferno Tower hitting me from the back. So it just kind of depends,
Business in the front, party in the back. Well, and not to mention, like, the log roller doesn't work with it,
Yep.
as I found
Yeah.
out the hard, embarrassing, peanut butter faced way.
Mhm.
Um, and what I was most surprised about after using it, the first times, it's a brand new spell still,
Mhm.
was that it went to the place of that people were using it mostly to do everything else around it, right? Clear out the stuff around it and leaving the place to the very end. Like the
Right.
town hall, instead of just steering it like I was doing. Um,
Yeah.
so it'd be
Yeah.
interesting to see where uh how people start to change the use as nerfs and whatnot. And I've been kind of contemplating like in GCBC's army that he was talking about, he always takes a quake. And
Mhm.
I couldn't at the time like take one in because I was thinking, well, I have to trade this off and this off. But without taking that overgrowth, then I could put a earthquake in and an invisibility, and then I have a little bit more flexibility. And I like
Yeah,
that
and
customization a lot.
so it's interesting. I was thinking that attacks are typically divided, kind of into three attack styles. So one of them is called smash attacks, and smash attacks are Super Bowlers, and then you have kind of spam dragons, and then you have more targeted attacks like Lalo, for example. Or I would even
Like
add
multi-part.
multi-part typically. I would even add hybrid to that, so using hogs and miners. So those are the three kind of different style of attacks. And typically if you understand funneling and truth packing,
Truth packing.
truth pathing, then smash attacks are what you're going to go with. It's also typically the most friendly to the attacker because like if you're doing a Lalo attack or a hybrid attack, typically you're going to have to do a queen charge or you're going to have to do a hero dive into the base. And in order to do that, it can be complicated because you're trying to take down a certain section of the base with as few troops as possible so that your Lalo or whatever it is that you're using more, pinpointed and strategic can go well enough because it's kind of hard to do Lalo with 5 loons, for example.
Yeah.
So with smash attacks, it's the easiest to learn because it makes the most sense. So if I funnel here and I funnel here, my troops will go here. Like I funnel out corner A, I funnel out corner B, my troops will automatically just take out section C. Now I'm not saying that
Go to
smash
work.
attacks are easy, but it is the easiest overall to learn. And interestingly enough, before
Like
Super
pieces in
Bowlers,
motion. Yeah. You put the puzzle, let it kind of,
right, it has the least amount of puzzle pieces,
yeah.
I guess. So interestingly enough, before Super Bowlers, same exact attack was used, but it was used with P.E.K.K.A.s and super wizards. And if you think about it, they're essentially doing the same thing, but the reason that people switch over to super bowlers because super bowlers are essentially P.E.K.K.A.s and super wizards in one. But
Ah,
people would funnel out on the left, funnel on the right, put 3 P.E.K.K.A.s down, and then put in a mess of super wizards behind, and the super wizards will do chained lightning. So they'll destroy and target multiple buildings at once, similar to like the super bowlers do it. So if you're looking for old school attacks to learn how to do super bowlers better, if you ever run into a P.E.K.K.A. smash attack and you see a video on P.E.K.K.A.
well,
smash, then that might be a video to watch or that you could learn from, because in reality, the puzzle pieces, the blocks, the Lego pieces that make up a P.E.K.K.A. smash are
the same.
essentially the exact same as a Super Bowler smash, and the principles are the exact same. So it's just learning funneling, troop pathing, and that's pretty much it. So it's been around for a long time. It's just the specific troop that's used for the smash attack has changed over time
Okay.
in OG times versus
Well,
current
and it makes a case. The more you understand the AI of the troops, the more you can use the other troops in different ways.
right, exactly.
I did.
And
Oh, sorry.
go ahead.
No, 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 no. Go for it.
Well, I was just gonna say the one thing that has helped me over time is I have learned different attack styles. So obviously the meta changes, within Clash of Clans, and it's mostly at the highest level. So at Town Hall 16, the meta at Town Hall 15 was more Sarch Blimp, Rage Barbarians with heroes, and then Root Riders were introduced, and now the meta is Root Riders. So it's always changing at the top. And one thing that has benefited me is I've been with the game most recently. I actually came back when Town Hall 13 was max, was when I originally came back. And then they just introduced Town Hall 14. And so I got to kind of learn the Town Hall 14 meta and what works at that level. And then at Town Hall 15, well, it's a totally new, different attack.
Yeah, I
So I
suppose.
had to learn that attack. And then, I came back and Town Hall 16 is the max. So I had to learn that attack. But just as if somebody had learned the principles of P.E.K.K.A. Smash back in the day, well, you can take those principles and just rearrange them into Super Bowlers currently.
Mm,
So all of those past strategies that I've learned have somehow incorporated into my current strategy at Town Hall 16. So you may think, oh, I'm learning Super Bowlers now, but I may not use them at Town Hall 17. You might still use the principles that you're learning at
yeah.
Town Hall 14 in order to use, the new what a Knight Rider troop that they're going to introduce at Town Hall 17,
Is that?
whatever it may be.
Oh, that maybe you had a little.
No, that's this,
And
that's not a leak.
the Knight Rider. Ooh.
No, oh no, 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 no,
I
no, don't.
I did remember what I was going to ask you though. As you were saying that, with the Warden pathing, you mentioned the 3 balloons, right? Or the 2 balloons going
Mhm.
in.
Free.
If you're 3, if your Warden is set to ground, will that change him?
The AI still works the same,
Oh, okay.
but you definitely want your warden set to ground because the healers will not heal him if he's on air.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. I just
And
want
I've made that mistake before.
okay.
Like, oh
I
crap, I left my warden on air.
I knew it was something important because I was like, well, is that just for an air attack? So, the do you have a rule on the RC deployment?
Uh,
To like,
so
like, cause so, I'm starting those attacks. I know we've talked about this. I come in from one side, but what are your thoughts just in general?
so typically, especially with a smash attack, you're going to funnel out one corner, you're going to funnel out another corner, and then you're going to send your super bowlers into a certain section. And
Yep.
this is also true with root riders. Well, assuming you funneled properly and your troops just don't go everywhere, spreading out all over the base, which has happened to me before. assuming you funnel them right, well, they're gonna path a specific direction. Typically, you're gonna wanna send your RC into the compartment or into the line of defenses that your main push of troops is not targeting. So if you're using super boulders and you put, you funnel them into the middle and then you
Good.
put your jump spell off to the left so that they path over to the left because that's the way that you want them to go.
Yeah.
But in doing so, this right side of the base is left open. Well, then typically I will send in my RC on the right side of the base. Now, the one thing that you have to watch out for when sending in your RC is you cannot send the RC into the enemy king. And hopefully not
Oh,
any enemy heroes. Like the your RC can deal with the enemy queen and the enemy RC a lot better than she can the king. But one on one, so let's say that you do that and you send in the RC and the king is like one of the first things that she meets. Well, your RC is dead because the king has so much health and does so much
yeah.
damage with the sword that she's essentially going to get nothing. So in that case, if I'm planning out my attack and I notice that the king is one of the first things that she might encounter, well, then that's when I make sure that I save a freeze and I bring 2 headhunters. So, and interestingly enough, the freeze is not for the king. The freeze is for whatever defenses could possibly target my headhunters because the headhunters will take care of the king. You don't need to freeze the king. You can freeze the king, and if you get the king in that freeze along with the defense that could destroy your headhunters at the same time, well, that's just a bonus. But let's say the king steps out and there's an inferno tower behind the king. Well, those inferno beams lock on to 5 at Town Hall 14, I think it's 5 different targets at one time, and then at Town Hall 15, it goes up 6 targets.
Oh, really?
Well, those 5 beams, one of them's on your RC, and then if you bring in the 2 headhunters, well, 2 other beams are gonna lock onto your headhunters at the same time. They're not gonna get the king down, and the king's just gonna destroy your RC. So what you gotta make sure is when you're sending in your RC, if there is a king there, send in your headhunters behind the RC and then freeze the Inferno Tower or the multi-archer tower or the ricochet cannon, anything that can target your headhunters in addition to targeting your RC to make sure that your RC can get through that section and then continue moving on through the base.
So if your super bowlers are hitting one side of the base
Mhm.
and then the defenses from the other side are hitting it, would you send them at the ones that are targeting your super bowlers?
Yes. Well, on the other side, whatever the Super Bowlers can't get to.
Okay. Okay. And when do you send it in normally?
So that's just kind of playing it by ear. Um,
Okay. I've been doing
because it
that. Like, okay, I'll
yeah.
send it in, send her in whenever. But okay. Uh, we're running short on time. So let me just ask in general, I'm working on my pets,
Mhm.
making progress. Upgrade order suggestions.
So I just did a video on this last week. Did you have a chance to watch that?
Oh, no, I didn't yet. That's right. I had that sitting there.
So I talked about it a little bit.
Well, I could wait
So
till.
pets are really interesting in that when they were introduced, they were a completely new and different concept. And I actually remember the year before they released pets, literally, I think it was a year before, it may have been longer than a year. Supercell put out an April Fool's joke on their Twitter account saying, "Now your heroes can have pets." And everybody
Oh,
thought it was a big joke because they hadn't released them yet. And they released it on April 1st, and everybody thought it was funny. We didn't think anything about it until Town Hall 14 was introduced, and bam, oh, well, now we have pets, right? So the initial 4 pets were very basic in comparison to the additional pets that were released at later town halls. So Lassie, for example, literally just has health and DPS. Like she doesn't do anything special, or it doesn't do anything special. Same thing with the Yak. Now the Yak kind of does have a special ability, and that the yak can break through walls,
Mm.
but the AI is wonky. So sometimes it will break through the wall that you want, sometimes it won't. So you still end up not being able to rely on it to break through the walls you want. So you still have to bring a super wall breaker to get through. So the wall breaking component with the yak is just too undependable, but it does offer a lot of HP. And when I'm looking at pets at Town Hall 14, especially if you're going up to Town Hall 16 and your goal is to get to max, the pets are going to take a while to upgrade. So for me, I would focus on the pets at Town Hall 14 that you will likely still be using at Town Hall 16. And the two pets that you will not likely be using at Town Hall 16 are the Yak and Lassie.
Mm.
Now, Chewy actually made a really good point about, well, even when you go up to Town Hall 15, it would be nice to have a pet that's higher in level that can still support your hero and do a lot of damage. And
Yeah.
I agree with that to an extent, but also just as having your hero down is super painful, I would also think that while you're upgrading a higher level pet, it's okay to endure the pain of having a level 1 Lassie. Does it suck? Yes, it sucks having a level 1 Lassie, but if your ultimate goal is to upgrade those pets that you will finally be using at in game and having those max first, then any DE or time that you focus on pets that you will not be using is essentially wasted. Like, it will feel better in the moment, just like I wish I didn't have to upgrade my heroes, and it definitely feels better having them up for war. But because my ultimate goal is to have max heroes at end game, well, I'm going to put my heroes down.
Yeah.
So if you're focusing on pets at Tunnel 14, my recommendation would be number one to focus on Lassie, because Lassie's still used at Town Hall 16. The
Really?
healing mechanic is it's very unique. You can use it on different types of heroes, although it's typically used with the queen. And
Lassie?
no, I'm sorry, not Lassie. Did I say Lassie? The unicorn.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to say Lassie. The
Okay.
unicorn.
Little
Um,
Sebastian is what I call him.
so Sebastian. So I would
Well,
upgrade
it's
that
from
one.
Parks and Recreation. That little they had the mini horse or like the
I
mini
thought
horse.
maybe I thought that was the name of one of the My Little Ponies in My Little
No, it
Ponytail.
was. It's they had this mini horse that is a celebrity. His name was Little Sebastian, and people went nuts for him. So every time I see the unicorn, I just think of Little Sebastian.
But I would focus 100% on the unicorn and ignore the other three pets, like, completely. Now, if you max out the unicorn, or if you just want to upgrade one of the other pets, the other pet that I would upgrade would be the owl, because the owl is the only pet that we can use in that's effectively used in a flying attack composition. So
Oh,
the new jelly, angry jelly, technically is a flying troop, but its mechanic is very different than the owl. And then also the phoenix is a flying troop, but for a majority of the attack, it's going to be a little egg anyway. So it doesn't really help with flying attacks either. So yes, those are flying troops, but if you want a flying troop from the get go that will do damage from the get go, the owl is the only troop that actually does that. So if you're looking for a
yeah.
flying troop to put with your heroes, then that may do it. And that is
Oh
beneficial in
man.
a couple different ways. Way number one, I think we talked about in the past, is if you're, for instance, bringing in a dragon army, your warden is on air, and then you bring in your owl, so that way you won't pull any ground-based CC troops. So ice golems, for example, will just stay in the CC when, like, if you have Lassie on the warden, for example. Well, Lassie's a ground-based troop, and I could be wrong on this, but Lassie will pull the CC because it's a ground-based troop. We'll put the
Oh.
owl with it. Well, the owl's a flying troop, so therefore the CC is not going to be pulled out. Or like a lava hound, if a lava hound would come out, it only gets pulled by a ground-based troop. So your king, your queen, if you're bringing in dragons, as long as your king and your queen and your RC steer clear of the CC troops, or steer clear of the CC's, aura, the round circle, as long as they never enter that, and then the dragons sweep through and destroy the CC before anything comes out, then that CC will never be triggered. And the owl is really good for that if you want to use it for that purpose. But those are the only two pets that I personally would focus on at Town Hall 14, and then just start focusing on other pets that are way more powerful at Town Hall 15 and Town Hall 16.
Damn it.
They do-
Oh.
but I mean, so Chewy did make a good point. Like if you want it to be a little less painful now, then and if you it's very similar to you wanting to stay at
Yeah.
Town Hall 14 longer. So if you want to enjoy Town Hall 14 a little bit more, then it's not a bad idea to upgrade Lassie or the Yak if you're going to be at Town Hall 14 a little bit longer, because then that makes your overall experience better.
Yeah, but it does kind of go, well, shit. Focus, it makes more sense to do the heroes, but it makes another case for going to 15 in a way, because then I could have the pets down.
Yeah. So at 15, you get Diggy, for
And
example, and
Maximus
Diggy.
is like, Diggy, loves
Diggy's
Diggy. He
amazing.
won't stop talking about him.
Diggy's amazing because Diggy stuns the defense, whatever hero is targeting that. Typically, it's paired with the RC pre Town Hall 16. At Town Hall 16, you get the Spirit Fox, and the Spirit Fox makes your hero invisible.
Yeah,
So
that's
that's amazing as
crazy.
well. So, I mean, just if you compare the Spirit Fox to Lassie, like there's no comparison because the Spirit Fox, its ability is so amazing. And literally all that Lassie can do is a little bit of damage. I mean, it has more HP uh, than the Spirit Fox, but as far as the damage levels, like it. So
So
if
do
you
you
can
ever use
focus,
Lassie?
never, no. My Lassie, so I did max it out when I was at Town Hall 14. And in order to respond to the fact that players were not using Lassie and the Mighty Yak, Supercell added 5 levels to just those 2 heroes, which
See,
again, I'm
that's
sorry,
makes
with
sense.
those hero pets, which again to me signifies because the unicorn, they added 5 levels to the owl actually too. But the unicorn and the owl are the best things for you to focus on at Town Hall 14 because you're most likely to use them in higher town halls, focusing on the unicorn first.
Yeah. I ju- Again, it's kind of like the hero equipment thing too. But just the idea that, do I go across the board, get him up? But I
Hmm.
will. I'll go on the unicorn first. That's kind of was the plan. But then the game changes, and all of a
Yep.
sudden the yak,
Yep.
oh, is going to be
Good.
good,
Yeah.
and then so it's just I'm always like um torn. And then of course it'd be a whole different story if it was my heroes were all maxed out, but
So at Town Hall 15, you're going to be getting the poison lizard as one of your pets. And that's a pet it's very use case specific, but in those use cases, it's amazing. So the poison lizard poisons whatever it's attacking, very similar to the headhunter mechanic. So,
oh
for example, if you're using a hybrid attack where there's, a hero or a couple heroes that are right there, well, maybe you don't have to bring headhunters to take those heroes down because the poison lizard's going to target it and just completely smash it and take it down. But other than that specific instance, it's not that helpful. Like it's not that useful. So in that case, I can definitely see somebody saying, "Oh, well, there are certain use cases where I'm going to probably use the poison lizard, in some cases." But honestly, I mean, just being honest, past Town Hall 14, you're probably never going to use the yak and the lassie again once your other pets get to a level
yeah, I just
where it
was
makes
thinking that.
sense.
I was just thinking, like, well, on the other hand, when I get to Town Hall 15, it's going to be days, or maybe I get the hammer building or whatever.
Mhm.
But then the research on the next pet to get that one up maxed is going to be a long time.
Right?
And then the same with the next one, and the same. So I'm going to be using these pets for a
Mhm.
while.
So if you want
It's a
something
conundrum.
to reduce the pain currently, then yes, upgrading them may make sense in that instance. If you're going to be, at Town Hall 14 for another 6, 7 months, and then let's say you're at Town Hall 15 for another 6, 7 months. Well, in that instance, yeah, I can see a case where upgrading Lassie now could be useful because at least you have a very powerful pet to put with your hero while your Diggy is upgrading, for
Yeah.
example. But for me, I would rather just take the pain hit now, max out my Diggy as quickly as possible, and then not have to worry about the Lassie at all. And I just do my
Well,
best with the level 1 Lassie.
and that's what I'm thinking with the unicorn, right? I didn't know little Sebastian last week or 2 weeks ago. So, if I keep it going, then I'm not used to it, and then I'll have some time to go back to the other ones. But it is really
Mhm.
expensive, so
Very.
um so I might just go with what I have available when the pet is research done,
Mhm.
if I have to, but just to keep something going for time.
Right.
But we'll see. Well, I suppose we better wrap up and with some shout outs. We should get back to the pets next week and talk some more about them. I'm sure I'll have a
Mhm.
lot more questions and some more pathing questions because I just seeing the change in my attacks and just thinking even more about the more and more little tricks like this
Right.
to set the things in motion. Man, and like that three building, where's she gonna
Mhm.
look next thing? Wow,
Yep.
wow, you could have used that years
Yeah.
ago. So so I'm excited to see what happens. And then we'll be here, I guess, with CWL because it starts on the first.
Yeah, very
Not the first
soon
weekend. Um
coming up.
are you doing anything to prepare?
So I am finishing up my Town Hall 14, and so that way I can have a max town or not max, have a Town Hall 15 on my strategic rush base whenever CWL starts.
Oh, you're gonna do it for this CWL.
Yep, so I'm gonna do
Okay.
it for this one, but, I'm not on Boimler. So my other account, which is one that's typically in House of L, like, it's actually farther along technically overall than Tal Shiar is, my Rush Town Hall, uh, 14, but
That's
also Boimler was my wife's old account, which she started back in 2020. So, I mean, it's a much older account as well. So it's had more time to, upgrade and get up there. So that will still be at Town Hall 14 at least for another month. And then, but I have 100% plans of taking Tal Shiar to Town Hall 15 and have it ready by the time the CWL starts.
well, I had plans, but they all went to shit. When I thought after I found out it was in a couple days and not a couple weeks.
Was it the best laid plans of mice and men?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sitting there going, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna squeeze these in. I'll get this king upgraded." Whew. So I might just do the king really quick and then jam it out if I have to. Shout outs this week.
Shout out everybody in the clan for being amazing. We just had a new person that just joined. I forgot who it was. Who was it?
Today.
Ash. Yep, just today.
Oh,
Ash. So I want to shout out Ash.
welcome, Ash. Yeah, the wars have been
A
going
fan in the
good.
stands.
Oh, awesome. I'll have to get. I must have happened while we were in the podcast right before.
Hmm.
Um, Shout out to House Bell. It's been crazy couple weeks for me, and everybody's just been um, doing good at these wars and just using our best judgment, as I so ineloquently tried to stammer out last week. Um, oh, that was painful. Uh, and so it's cool to see everybody working together. We got a really good group of
Hmm.
people, I should say, uh, that that are really great at using their own best judgment,
Hmm.
and just the war flows a lot more smoothly than it used to in the old days. I mean, when we had kind of a routine and kind of things got in their flow or whatever, in the old days, we were using Clash Caller and whatnot in those type of things. But It's really cool to kind of just see with these new tools in there that it goes really much smoother without having to run outside this stuff.
Well,
So
and I know that L got, like, pretty competitive there for a while and, like, making sure that you were 3-starring and, town halls hitting up and town halls hitting down and, like, all of that, the planning, the strategy was all super important back then, back in 2016, when now it's just like, man, do your best, like, just have
yeah,
fun with it, you know?
because if you're just using the common sense for the most part on the hits, it's like if you're going where you think you can do it, like Max will go up there and he'll look at the top bases and he'll go, "Oh, I'm gonna do number 4," and then he's like, "Well,
Mhm.
I'll try number 2."
Yep.
Um, Not like a straight across thing, but like, "Hey, I'm an air guy. Let me try it."
Yep.
Again, no big deal if you don't get it, or something like goes wrong or whatnot. Um, but it's also where you're not sweating like, oh, the whole team is waiting on you.
Yep.
It's like, well, we'll achieve it. We'll do the war, and I can start using that at symbol when people haven't got their attacks in or something. I should have done that this war because we're kind of waiting on a couple at the bottom. But that really hasn't happened
Mhm.
much in the last war, so it's always changing. But so thanks to everybody in House of L for being great. Thanks to all you listeners out there. Uh, it's been a fun 13 episodes.
It has been. I we're 3 past where we were supposed to stop at, Scotty.
I know, and here we go. We're just getting warmed up.
Just getting warmed
I
up.
figured out the Warden Pull. Now, probably 6 months from now, will be like in those very particulars of the attack,
Mm.
like the past the 50% mark. No.
Yeah,
Well,
and then it gets exciting. Well, so the problem with that is the next level is competitive play, right? And my problem with competitive play is I was so obsessed isn't the right word, but I was so determined to do well that I would look at a base for an hour to just do the numbers in my head. Okay, if I loon down here, will it get this building down because there's an archer tower and then an inferno tower behind it? Doing all of that planning for an hour and then getting your attack in. And typically you had 2 attacks. And then on a second attack, I do another hour to an hour and a half of planning. So it was
d-
fun whenever I did it, but it was a lot. Like it's a lot of strategy
yeah,
and it's really good. It was really fun for the head, for the brain, but it was
you're
just a
just not
lot.
allowed to do that.
Yeah.
It's the rule. I honestly, it makes it, I do better on them if I can look at the base, have a good idea, but then because
Just
so
go
many
with it.
times, yeah, just go in and
Yep.
then do it because then I start switching things, and it's like, okay, this is the army, this is the base. Here's the rough plan. Here's where you think you're gonna do it, and then because the minute I hit attack, that plan has I dropped the one thing, and so it's just like if I just go in, and sometimes I'll have that plan, and I hit attack, and I go, you know what? I don't think it should go on that side, and then I flip over to the other side.
Mhm.
I don't know what changes, but so we'll get more into that next time. Get a hold of us, clashclanspodcast at gmail.com, clashclanspodcast.com, Clash Tips, YouTube, check it out. Uh, Tip's awesome. He teaches me a lot of stuff. And the Clash Tips podcast too. Keep clashy,
Keep
everybody.
it clashy.
Skilly beep 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 skilly beep.